Ever wonder how that piece of paper in your notebook got there? It's actually a pretty amazing process that turns trees into the smooth sheets you write on every day. Today we're going to follow paper on its incredible journey from forest to your desk. You'll discover the cool science behind making something we use constantly but rarely think about. Get ready to see paper in a whole new way. Trees are literally the foundation of all paper, and different types give us different qualities of paper. Softwood trees like pine and spruce have long, strong fibers that make paper tough and durable. Hardwood trees like oak and maple have shorter fibers that create smoother, finer paper perfect for writing. The key is that all trees contain cellulose fibers, which are like tiny natural threads that will eventually become the backbone of your paper. Paper mills carefully select the right mix of trees to create exactly the type of paper they want to make. Once trees arrive at the paper mill, they go through some seriously powerful machinery that would make any action movie jealous. Giant debarking machines strip away all the bark because we only want the pure wood underneath. Then enormous chippers, with blades spinning at incredible speeds, turn whole tree trunks into millions of tiny wood chips about the size of your fingernail. These chips need to be roughly the same size so they cook evenly in the next step. It's like preparing ingredients for a massive recipe where consistency is absolutely crucial for the final product. This is where things get really interesting because the wood chips take a hot chemical bath that transforms them completely. The chips get loaded into massive pressure cookers called digesters, along with chemicals that break down the lignin, that's the natural glue holding wood fibers together. Under intense heat and pressure for several hours, the chemicals dissolve away everything except the pure cellulose fibers we need. What comes out looks like chunky oatmeal and is called wood pulp. This pulp contains millions of individual fibers that are now free and ready to be woven into paper. The pulp that comes out of the digester is brown and full of leftover bits that need to be removed before it can become nice, clean paper. First, the pulp goes through screens and cleaners that remove any remaining chunks of wood, dirt, or other unwanted materials. Then comes the bleaching process, where chemicals like hydrogen peroxide make the pulp bright white by breaking down any remaining colored compounds. The pulp gets washed multiple times during this process to make sure it's as pure as possible. By the end, what started as brown, chunky pulp has become clean, white, and ready for the next step. Now comes the moment where pulp actually becomes paper, and it happens on a machine that's basically like a giant, super-fast conveyor belt. The clean pulp gets mixed with lots of water to create a soupy mixture that's about 99% water and 1% fiber. This mixture gets poured onto a moving wire screen that's as wide as a highway and moving incredibly fast. As the mixture flows across the screen, the water drains through the holes, leaving behind a thin mat of intertwined fibers. The fibers naturally weave together as the water disappears, forming the basic structure of what will become your paper. The newly formed paper sheet is still way too wet and fragile to use, so it needs to go through an intense drying process. First, the paper gets squeezed between enormous heated rollers that press out as much water as possible while also making the paper smooth. Then it travels through a series of heated drums that are so hot they turn any remaining moisture into steam. The paper moves incredibly fast through this process, sometimes at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. By the time it reaches the end, the paper has gone from being 90% water to less than 10% water, making it strong and ready to use. Before paper makes it to your local store, it goes through final quality checks and gets prepared for shipping around the world. Machines check the thickness, strength, and color of every inch of paper to make sure it meets strict standards. The paper gets wound onto huge rolls that can weigh several tons. Then special cutting machines slice these giant rolls into the smaller sizes you see in stores. Finally, the paper gets packaged, labeled, and shipped to retailers where it waits patiently for students like you to buy it. From tree to your desk, the whole process usually takes just a few days, but the journey is absolutely incredible. What's the most surprising thing you learned about how paper is made? Drop a comment below and let me know.